as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome back to Marbella Now. My name is Nicole King, and a big thank you to my lovely production assistant Anita Norte for our next guest, Kay of the Art Society de la Frontera.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you for, I mean, did you need to get jabs and things to leave home and come all this way?
Well, we did consider that because for us it's strange territory now because we just don't come here anymore. We're very much in a bubble in Sotogrande. Who can blame us, really, with so much raging outside? So,
But I mean, Sotogrande is a privileged area to be. It's just like so different from everywhere else. It's like Punta Aparte is a whole other world.
it's completely different, a totally different world. I mean, I love it, but I also love leaving it and coming down the coast.
So did you used to live in this area before you became all sottoed?
About all sottoed. No, I mean, we lived in Winchester in England and then moved out here in steps, you know, gradually. And
Like
now,
one does.
And now we're Spanish residents. I think that's correct. Yes, we're Spanish residents.
So you're all ready for the Brexit, makes no difference to you, got everything in order.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing actually to see how many swallows have appeared when it's actually now come to the crunch of having to make that decision to stay, not to stay, to go, to hover, not to hover.
Yeah, so I don't think, I mean, I don't think we'd go back now, really.
How many years have you been out here?
We've been out here, we've been Spanish residents for 7 years, I think, and we've been going backwards and forwards, keeping business going in England and etc. It's all gone well.
Were you involved with the Art Society before you came over and brought it with you, or is that one of the things you just like decided to do now that you're a lady of leisure?
Well, actually, I can't help thinking that being chair of the Art Society de la Frontera does not make me a lady of leisure, but that's by the by. I knew nothing about the Art Society before I came out here, and I'm so glad I discovered it because we lived in Winchester, so we could nip up to London, and Winchester's got quite a busy art scene as well, and so I thought I was going to really, really miss it. And then I found the Art Society, and I think it's brilliant. I really do.
What kind of things do you do? I mean, just look at artwork, or what is the setup?
No. This is the setup. I mean, there are 6 art societies along the coast. So if anybody, anybody living in this area can find themselves an art society. And we have a season which lasts 8 months, and we bring out lecturers from England, top-class lecturers, really, well-known faces on the television, for example. Oh, John, sorry, I'm getting terribly thirsty. May I have a drink of water?
You may have a drink of water. Go for it, darling.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I love all this proper English speaking, but of course, if one lives in Soto, one has to be prepared to meet the right people. I mean, it's ever so lovely.
Oh, goodness me, yes.
There's really very nice English people and a lot of Madrid people from Madrid.
Come down, yes.
I lived in Madrid for a long time. Let's not make faces at the Madrileños.
No, I'm not making faces, but we were genuinely worried because they were locking down, and they didn't lock down. They escaped here, you see, I expect they escaped to Marbella as well. Don't you think?
Yeah, oh, yes, definitely.
Definitely.
But I have to say, I lived in Madrid for 20 years, if I was in that situation, I'd have done everything I could to get my kids and come down here as well. I would have done exactly the same.
I understand. Anyway, to get back to the Art Society, yes, what we do, so we have 8 lectures a year. We also have a lot of fun, which is the main purpose. Well, that isn't the main purpose, but it's very, very important that we do have fun. We have visits. We went to Morocco. We went to Morocco just before shutdown and had a wonderful time because one of our members lived in Morocco, grew up there, so she knew all the ins and outs. So we had a wonderful time. We have trips. We also have links with the local schools. We run a competition every year. And we also, yes, the competition, the primary schools, the senior schools, they come in and we vote for the one we like best, the paintings we like the best. And they get good prizes, very good for encouraging art. And we also have a feasting on art every year when we invite local artists to come, and they bring their wares, their ceramics, their paintings, etc., etc., all their beautiful things, and we have it, and we have a glorious day, so people can, in the locality, can see what the artists can do. So really, we're very active in encouraging the arts in the area.
But you have to do all the organising of the different events and then the arranging of the flights. Is that something you have to do yourself?
Well, I have a committee, and they're jolly good. I have a very good committee, and yes, we go to London to choose the lecturers, which is another good, great fun. There's a lot of fun in it. That's the whole purpose. It's not the whole purpose.
But it sounds like it should be the purpose. First thing is fun, because if you appreciate art, if you're looking at art, you have fun. And if you like books, then listening to an author, and that's fun. But
yeah,
I kind of think you don't need to keep your correction. I kind of think fun is the objective. How we go about getting there is like a matter of choice.
Yeah, but we have such interesting lecturers that come. And so there is a great deal going on all the time. And yes, so we have the lectures, we have the outings, and also I say that after our lecture we have a drinks reception. Now, isn't that good? Yes.
Definitely the way to go.
And the drinks reception is supported by our sponsors. We have sponsors, and that helps a great deal, keeps our head above water. So we have local businesses, we have a travel agency, I'm trying to think what else we have. Yes, a travel agency, we have local businesses, insurance, banking, etc. And we obviously treat them so well, they come back again year after year.
Well, that's nice. And I mean, there are many members in the society?
Well, at the beginning of the season, or the end of last season, we had 164. But the problem is, of course, some people have stayed in England, whilst others are concerned that we just can't get our act together. But in fact, we have, because we Zoom our lectures. So that's working well. No,
and it's, as I say, it's nice that because there's a common interest of art, of culture, of things. And it's sounding, when you're talking to me, like, this sounds a bit like the Art Society Benavis, but that's what I'm falling in. It's the same. This is a big group from England. There's offices and like places everywhere.
And
this
is
it,
fun,
right?
Yes. I keep on going on about fun. There's Benavis. I'm trying to think where else we have them. Benavis.
But it's nice because obviously then you've got them locally.
Yes.
So that if you're in a bit further down that way, you go to one. If you're like Marbella area, then you go to the Benavis one.
Yes,
because
exactly.
They do this. So do you all like meet up in England at the same time to choose your lecturers?
We do. It's called Directory Day, and it's the most marvellous thing. The organisation. I'm going to do a plug now for the for London, because they work so hard, and to have over 1,000 people in a hall. Of course, we can't do it this year, so they're thinking of other ways of doing it. Having all this number in one hall, and you go round and about and chat to the lecturers, they do a presentation, and then you put together a good mix of lectures that you think will appeal to your members. So that's great fun.
Do you ever end up fighting with like the Art Society? They're like, I want him. No, I want him. No, I saw him first.
Nothing like that.
Or do you organise well, he can come to me, then go to you and share the costs? It's like, well, you did me first, then go there.
I have to say this. We have a sister society, Gibraltar. So we share our lectures, so we can share the cost of flying out the lectures and just make it more reasonable, because it is an expensive thing to do. And then you have to obviously pay the lecturers. So we do share them, and that works really well.
That's a nice idea, because I'm thinking, you fly someone, first you've got to pay them, you fly them in, they've got to stay somewhere, and you've got to cart them around and take them back. And I'm thinking,
them to dinner.
Exactly. I mean, it's a lot of work when it's just like a charity, like not like a paying society. It's something there for fun. I mean, the money you guys make from the memberships doesn't pay for that.
No, it's the sponsorship which helps.
So what do they get out of it? Just the 100 and something people who like hear their name when they go to have a lecture? Trying to get my head around.
No. It's very worthwhile for sponsors. They can. I always, at the beginning of the lecture, read out some information about the sponsors, and I always say, do visit their table, because often the sponsors will do a raffle. linked to the lecture sometimes. And so that's a really, really good way of for them to promote their businesses or their wares in the area. It does work well.
No, I know it does because I know the Art Society here and to be a sponsor. But it's funny because it's really got to sponsor people to just go and have fun. Go do what you like and we'll just come in and join in.
No, come along, Nicole, come along. We're talking about art here.
Well, I have to say, I've been to some of the Benavis events and they're beautifully done, and I love the way the support the schools, the children, young talent, the authors.
Yes. It's a good thing. And we're multinational. It's not just a question of the English. We have Swedes, we have French, we have Germans.
What are the kind of things that your group like the most? I mean, like, because there are certain things like some like flamenco and some like the wines. What do you, in general, what are the speakers that you tend to go for?
I tell you what has happened, which I think is a very good thing. In the last 2 years, or 3 years maybe, the base has been broadened, the base of subjects has been broadened. It's not just, for example, Renaissance art. We do wider things. Our next lecture is Ian Swanky, who's he's a really funny guy. He's coming over. Oh no, he's not coming over. We're Zooming him from England. He's going to talk about great railway stations of the world. And we're going to look at he's going to take us to the art, the architecture, the fun of the stations, you know, the feel of them. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Actually, curiously, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, having been a big fan of Waterloo, I mean, who didn't meet under the clock? I mean, there's certain things that, Paddington, do you know what I mean? There are certain things that we have in our history and culture related to a railway station that I actually curiously think, that actually sounds, dare I say, like fun.
Well, it is interesting. It's interesting. We have got the month after, oh, do you know, unfortunately, Ian, I've forgotten his name. I've got the programme here. I've got his name, sorry, Ian. Ian is going to come and talk about history, Andalusian history, which is a good thing, isn't it?
And that's very diverse.
Yes, art and culture of Andalusia. And then in January, we have Sarah Cove, who I think could be on an antiques television programme. Sarah Cove is going to talk about fakes or fortune, how you spot a fake, and you might have a Da Vinci under your bed sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice. I mean, like some of these programmes when you see people have picked something up for 75 pence and it's worth 30 or 500,000 because...
It's so infuriating, isn't it? Because you
it
think
is
that
if you
could be
don't
me.
Exactly, it is if you don't, if you're not the one who's
could have
finding
been
it.
me, you think.
So now that things, Kate, are being more on Zoom, I suppose in a way this is kind of like a backhanded opportunity to open up the Art Society de la Frontera to more people, even if they're further afield, because you can just watch them, or are you sticking, no, you have to be geographically located in an area.
To be discussed at the next committee meeting.
On Zoom.
No, actually, because they're local people, they will come to our flat, so that works. It works.
No, because I was thinking there must be some of the people who come to speak that could be of interest, and now we have this opportunity. You don't have to actually go somewhere. You can like join in online.
Just see it on Zoom. Yeah, I mean, it is a thought. I think I fear this must be the way forward for quite a while. So I think we've really got to look at our options and consider what we can do. We'll have to discuss that, because the lecturers are such high standard. They're so very good that they should be shared by as many people as possible. But on the other hand, we would like people to join our society.
Yeah, I think they would have to join the society to be able to watch it. I mean, they have to become members first.
Yes,
obviously.
Yeah.
You know, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean,
but I mean, that's the thing, is to try and convince people that Zoom lectures can be as good as. But what people are missing, obviously, is the social context. That's what people love.
Well, it's funny because when I did the initial interviews during lockdown on Zoom, in fact, I did every single show, more time, and curiously, people I'd met in person and interviewed, I didn't have a chance ever to speak to like I did when I interviewed them on Zoom, Because in person, like now, you come in, hi, you go, next person. But with a Zoom, it was like you had a chat before, but then did the interview, then after the interview, have a little chat. And I actually got to know people better than perhaps when I'd seen them in person for lack of time before.
Yeah, it is interesting. So there is hope.
There is definitely hope. While you're having fun, Kate, there's hope. There's hope. Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you. Are very joyful.
Yes, I try to be.
Well, you succeed. You succeed, and it's great because it's contagious. It is something that's good to be contagious. Joy,
one thing.
Smiles, exactly.
I know, we've just got
no
to keep...
mask required for this one.
We've got to keep cheerful.
Well, as I say, a pleasure. Congratulations on your good work. I know it's not Lady of Leisure. I know how hard it is to be the chair of an art society. So,
but it's,
well
as
done.
I say, I use that word again. It is fun.
It is fun. And if you'd like to meet a fun person and you would like to know what's going on in Soto, contact Kay. And I'm sure she'll let you know. Thank you so much.
That's quite all right. Thanks.
Judy likes to consider herself a clever young woman, which is why she thought very carefully before choosing her insurance company. Now that she needs it, she's jolly glad she chose Linear Director, as it looks as if she might have something better to do. Why don't you be clever, like Judy? Call Linear Director on 952 14 78 34 and see which policy is best for you.
When I'm the designated driver, I think it's only fair that I get to choose a zero-hero venue that rewards me with free soft drinks. My friends all get to choose and booze, and they feel safe going home with me. Make sure that you get your reward for being the designated driver. Why pay if you don't have to?
Zero Hero, welcome to the playwright.
Hello guys, welcome to Harbor. All the designated drivers are welcome here to the Harbor. And we are very proud to be a Zero Hero partner.
G-Wine is happy to be Zero Hero partner.
Hi guys, Ross here from Hogan Stand. Proud to be a member of the Zero Hero campaign. And we recommend everybody. Nobody drives drinking. Everybody who drives a car doesn't have any alcohol in their system, and we're proud to sponsor the Zero Hero program.
Welcome back to Marbella Now. My name is Nicole King, and I have a surprise guest. Never met him in my life, never heard about him until a few minutes ago, but we had a guest who didn't show up. Apparently had a senior moment and forgot to come. So my other guest said, my husband is ever so interesting, and here he is. His name is David Bowerman, and apparently you were a cameraman for 40 years.
That's right, yes.
So none of this is strange to you? You feel quite at home?
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, the main difference is the fact that we're sitting in a cool studio, thanks to LED lighting, which we didn't have when I started.
It's funny because a few weeks ago I said, I'm so hot, it's the lights. And they looked at me and they said, no, it's not, because the lights are LED, they're not giving. But I felt that I was being, but it wasn't. It was just obviously a hot day and we didn't have the aircon on. So tell us, how has the industry changed during your career? Because you must have seen, in 40 years, it just suddenly changed and there was a boom.
Well, I started out in the industry at the time we were changing from optical sound to magnetic sound. So that's how far back I go. It's amazing to think that our editors, instead of putting the sound through a squawk box, as we used to call it, they could actually just read the optical track. They could read what people were saying.
I mean, it's amazing how many talents you can develop through the needs of lack of technology.
That's right, yes. So from then on, I started out in 35mm black and white, shooting television commercials. And then after about 10, 15 years, we changed over to 16mm colour for television. And then round about just after the Falklands War, electronic pictures started to come in. So we gradually moved over to electronic pictures.
How did you get involved in the first place? Because that was a very glamorous line of work to get into. I mean, making ads for TV back in the day when we didn't all have TVs.
Well, it's slightly embarrassing, really. I mean, I failed my A-levels, and my father was so cross. He said, I'm not paying for your education anymore. You have to go and get a job. So I opened the newspaper. It was the Bristol Evening Post, and there was an advert, trainee assistant cameraman required. There were 47 applicants. They required a driving license, which I had, and only 6 other applicants had a driving license, and I was the only one that had any interest in photography. So that was how I got the job.
Oh, wonderful. And so your dad, in the end, I suppose, he left you off the hook because being a cameraman's a decent job.
Well, they were very upset for a long time, probably 15 years or so. They couldn't believe that, A, the job was a proper job and that it would carry on.
So where did it take you? You started in Bristol and the whole way through in Bristol, or?
No, I was 8 years in Bristol working for a television commercial company. And what happened was that they were it was one of these companies that was always teetering on the brink. And it gradually, when I just only been married about 2 years, and with a young child, they suddenly started teetering even worse than usual. And at that time, I saw an advert for, I'm good on adverts, I saw an advert for a cameraman in Zambia. So I went out to work for the government of the Republic of Zambia.
Now that's a big change from Bristol.
It is, yes. And so I was there for 5.5 years. And my other 2 children were born in Africa. So
what was that like?
It was fascinating. One of my jobs was following the President of the Republic of Zambia around, and trying to show him in a good light, which was easy because he's about the first president ever to step down in Africa as a result of the ballot box.
Wow.
So, you know, he was a different kind of president. When you drive, we went there about 3 years ago after 40 years away. And as you drive from the airport, there's a sign with 5 presidents' faces looking at you saying 40 years of stability. Well, you don't get that in many places. 50 years of stability, sorry.
I mean, it's quite amazing to think that the differences of how you started to then going and following around a president that, like, such a powerful person in a country that's so, I don't want to say unstable, but we've been chatting quite recently with Linda Woodin, and her father was a doctor dentist in the blood diamond mines, and this, and do you mean it was such a different world back in the day to the way it is now? Everything, we see it so differently to the way we used to.
It was quite interesting because one of the first assignments I had was the Non-Aligned Nations Conference. So we had over half the world leaders staying in Lusaka at the time. And my job was trekking around interviewing all of them. I interviewed Tito, Lee Kuan Yew, lots of the world's leaders.
And what kind of things do you ask them? I mean, what can one ask someone like that?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have to ask the questions. I just watch it.
Okay, so you were just the camera and then making sure getting all the good shots and the good angles.
That's right. Well, I mean, shooting in film in those days, you know, you had to get the exposure just right. It had to be, you know, it was a pretty tricky job. And in fact, we were very highly paid, not in Africa, but in England, we were highly paid because it was a very skilled job. And there were only, I think, in the Union, about 130 cameramen when I was a cameraman.
And now we're all cameramen.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone knows what to do.
Anybody can do it.
Anyone can do it now, especially the cameras come ready. They do the right setting, the flashes, the light. We all look good.
And the interesting thing was that the only one who knew what was going out on the pictures was the cameraman. The director didn't know what he was going to get until he saw the rushes the following day.
When you then do your filming, because I know that with our camera guys, you can almost tell who did the recording by the way it's filmed. You can also tell who's done the editing frequently by the way they've put it together. How does it feel as a cameraman when you know you've taken something in a certain way and then it gets put together perhaps in a different way? Because you lose that control, don't you, as a cameraman?
Yeah. Well,
often as that end product.
Well, my son's an editor and he used to edit my material back in the for a while, and he always used to be able to tell when it was my stuff. So, yes, you do put a fingerprint on it.
It's strange because you would think it's the same, but it's not all the same.
No, and I'm afraid I was accused quite often of controlling what the end result was going to be because I shot it in a certain way and there was one way to edit it. So
I have to say, I mean, and I'm not a pro in this field, but when I do the recordings and I record out and about, I would come in and sit with the editor because I want to explain how I've recorded it in my mind
Yes.
You know what I've got going on, and you want to see that in the
Well,
finished result.
I didn't get to sit with the editors, but I did put it. You know, you can shoot economically, and if you shoot economically, then you do have a control over what goes out. And you know, I worked virtually 7 days a week for 40 years, so I can't have been that bad at doing it. So.
Obviously not. So where did you go when you finished chasing your presidents all around the country?
Well, by that time there were no staff cameramen in England, so it was all freelance. And so I freelanced for the BBC and ITV. And I did shows like Tomorrow's World. I worked on that for 25 years.
Wow.
Give
us a bit of behind the scenes of Tomorrow. Come on with some juicy stories.
Well, I've got to be careful here because we used to call it, I can't really say what we used to call it, but we knew that for certain products, being on Tomorrow's World was a kiss of death. You know, you get people whose inventions wouldn't work or they'd collapse on television. You know, it just, I can think of one where a chap had a bosun's ladder, which was to be pulled up the mast, and it was just rungs that came out. Well, the presenter was supposed to climb up the ladder. Every time he put his foot on the leg, it collapsed. And so he's there doing a sort of static dance. And the joke was that we had a cameraman, and there was two of us, and the other cameraman decided to go up the mast. I thought, you're welcome to go 40 feet up in the air. The only thing was he weighed about 20 kilos, a big bloke, you know, a really big bloke. He was known as Slim MacDonald for that reason. And he went up, and he just shot straight up.
Wow.
Because the inventor had said it's because the presenter is scared, he's putting too much pressure and not moving quick enough.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of instructions to work out. It obviously wasn't a great invention. Did you get to meet some of your perhaps personal heroes while you were cameraman? Because obviously you've been a lot of people coming and going while you're filming.
Well, I had one of my memorable interviews was with Peter Ustinov, which was, I was working for Italian television at the time, and of course he's fluent in Italian, so he's a gift for Italian television. And he turned up, we went to the Dorchester, set up the appointed hour, he comes through the door, and he says, no sign of Sandro, who was the reporter. He said, I suppose you're going to tell me that he's on a bilateral to Rome and he'll be about an hour. I said, well, yes, that's probably very accurate. He said, fine. So he sat down and very quietly he told one anecdote. If we hadn't responded, he would have gone off. But because he's not a pushy type, you know, but his stories were just brilliant. They were brilliant.
I mean, obviously you have your own story as well, but to just bump into the day-to-day work, meeting people that one admires. I know myself that sometimes you just get that opportunity to be able to just have that behind-the-scenes chat or see somebody and ask them,
right.
You know, a few bits.
It was unusual to have such a to have a one-to-one conversation for an hour was quite a privilege with such a raconteur. Other people I've filmed Ginger Rogers, Bob Hope, Blondie, Paul McCartney, and so on. It goes on. I'm
quite blasé about it in the end, though, because they're just people coming into work like, here you come with Kay to come on the show, and, oh, interview me, fine, yes, I'm a camera guy. Like,
yeah. And, I mean, I did actually write my memoirs, which was, I published about 2 years ago, because a friend of mine said, you ought to write it down, because obviously there are an awful lot of funny moments that really verged on the absurd sometimes.
Like, give us an example. I don't want you to give away your book, because we have to all go and buy the book now. We'll find out the title.
Funny moments. Oh, dearie me.
It's awful when someone puts you on the spot, because obviously David wasn't even planning on being on the show, so he certainly hasn't come prepared.
Yeah.
What's the title of the book?
You should have been here yesterday, because that's what people used to say to me whenever I arrived. You know.
You should have been here yesterday. When do you want it done? Yesterday.
Well, we were always late. I mean, a story happens, and so we turn up afterwards. You know, that's the way it goes. I'm still struggling to think of. I'm on the spot here. Kay knows all my stories by heart.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to get the book. You should have been here yesterday by David Bowerman.
That's right.
And when did you finish filming, or are you still dabbling? Do you have like one of these cool new phones now, or a big camera?
I retired from filming 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you not get bored, or do you fill
Well,
it doing other things?
I take photographs. I get involved. People ask me to take photographs all the time. And I also got interested in bird photography because it's actually quite a challenge. You know, even though you may have photographed a bird, you might just get a better photograph. And so that's something to keep you struggling on. It's rather like filming. We always said that the day that you thought you produced the perfect shot was the day you should retire.
You can always do it that little bit better.
That's right. It was referred to as the celluloid mistress when I was young.
How funny is that? The light here in Spain is very different to the
Oh,
light
yes.
in the UK, the light when you were in Africa. That must have been, I suppose, much harder in those days to adjust what
Yeah.
you were with the light of the natural lighting.
The lighting in Africa is obviously from the top, except at sunset and sunrise. So you end up with very harsh shadows underneath. And also, it tends to be quite a blue light compared with our light here in Spain, although it's bright, it's a slightly warmer light.
Yeah, it's
than
a
the
yellower light.
Yes. Than the
I
light,
understand
the
completely. It's funny.
light you
I
get
see
in
lighting
Africa.
colours as well. So it's like, I do get it. In fact, I work in England. I'm a much slower thinking because it's darker and I work better with high light. But in Alicante, Costa de la Luz, that used to be just perfect. It's such a white, bright light.
Yeah.
Here we have that slightly yellower, warmer light.
Well, at the moment, for instance, driving down this afternoon was perfect. The light was perfect. It was beautiful. With what we call the magic hour, which is the hour before sunset, probably 2 hours before sunset, if the truth were known. That's what you refer to as the magic hour. Unfortunately, in filming, we're not able to just do 2 hours before and 2 hours after the midday. So we have to put up with what we've got. But there are conditions which are preferable.
Yeah, and there's those little things that can make the cost reduction run over. If you're waiting for lights, the time you have to keep everything going.
Yes, I mean, waiting for light, I mean, we had what we used to call, it was a pan glass, which when you looked through it in the old days, it was a black and white pan glass. So you looked through and it showed you the picture in black and white, which was quite handy. In fact, invaluable. And we used to peer at the sun. You're always going like this, you know, and the director would be saying, right, can we go? And I'd say, another couple of minutes. And you become very good at weather watching. You actually also realise when it's a hopeless case and you're just going to have to go with it, you know.
Absolutely fascinating. Well, David, thank you so much for stepping in on the spur of the moment. Without a doubt, fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us in the Marbella Now studio. And I'm very much looking forward to getting your book, You Should Have Been Here Yesterday, by David Bowerman.
Available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon and any local bookshops?
No, unfortunately, the local bookshops are a bit difficult about these sort of things because...
We have to speak to our local ones in Marbella. They're much more open-minded.
Right. Yeah, the bookshop, our local bookshop said, well, no, you know, we're having a bad enough job trying to sell novels and things like that because obviously electronic books have really taken over, you know. It's also available.
For me, there's nothing like having that book, the paper, the smell of the book and the feel of the book.
It's also available on Kindle as well, so, you know, we cover all bases.
You Should Have Been Here Yesterday. That's the name of the book. And thank God you were here today. David Bowerman, thank you very much. Ex-cameraman, author and photographer of birds is also Kay's the other half. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Straight to your heart. We can change if we try. Just believe.